Oh, please. I was about to say, please tell me that you hit record and then that happened.
I did.
Even if it didn't, I need you to lie to me and tell me.
No, it's there. Trust me, I'm looking at it right now, and the burp went outside the lines.
Okay.
I'm going to turn my gain down one notch. So
that would be probably a good idea. And welcome to Into the Fold, a show where two best friends share their love of Lee Bardugo's Grishaverse chapter by chapter. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Juliana, and this week we are talking about Shadow and Bone chapters 21, 22, and the after portion, which means this is our last chapter by chapter discussion of Shadow and Bone, which is really exciting and kind of crazy that we've already gotten to the end of the first book, Jeff.
I know. I had to do the math the other day, and you know how bad I am at math. I am not good at it.
Probably just as bad as I am.
Probably, but I did some, and I figured out that we started doing this show something like 6 months ago.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
We're old.
We are so old. We are like... How old are we? We are like...
In dog years, where does that put us? Like, because how many dog years? So that gives us at least... I think it's 7 years per 1 year, so we're at least a 3.5-year-old dog.
I feel like you would know dog years better than me.
Well, cats have the same years, don't they? They just get 9 lives. They get 9 tries.
I don't know.
Apparently.
But, June 17th was our first episode, so it looks like we are just about 5 months, almost exactly. Wait, what day is today?
Today is the 20th.
Okay, so we are actually past it. 5 months and some change since our very first episode, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
How much we've been able to accomplish in such a short space of time. And we're only one book in.
Yeah, we have so much more things to talk about. So many more amazing things to do. But thank you, listeners, for joining us on this journey so far. And hopefully you'll stick around for the rest of the stuff that we're going to do, because we'll get into it on the news section. But we have some fun things coming up, too, even though we're finishing up this book.
And even beyond the stuff that we have to wrap up this book, I'm having the best time doing this. And I love, like, when the listeners get in on it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know that I could enjoy the series much more than I do now that we're doing the show.
Well, everything is better with friends, Jeff.
It really is, including watching the TV show Friends.
Yeah. Valid point. Okay, so shall we get into some news then, Jeff?
Yes, the news from the front.
Yes.
News.
Love it. Here for it. Fabulous.
What do we have first?
So first, I just thought we could wish a nice little happy second birthday to Grisha Cast. They just celebrated their second birthday a week or two ago, which is very exciting. So, like we said, we're headed in that direction.
Huzzah!
So happy birthday to Eric and Terry over there at Grisha. Yay!
Hooray!
Hooray! I also wanted to just say sorry about the social media lull over on Instagram. I have been on vacation, which is something we're actually going to talk about a little bit in Jeff and Juliana's Friendship Corner.
Friendship Corner!
So,
that's going to be a good discussion.
Yeah,
that's fun.
That'll be fun, but just apologizing for the lack of social media content, and thank you all for commenting on the things that we did post. So, yay, yay, yay.
That's a great segue into our next news item, because I wanted to mention that one of our dearest and bestest and most wonderfully talented fans, Kendra Dantes, the outstanding musician, who I swear will be like huge someday.
Famous.
Astonished that she isn't already. But anyhow, she has released a dance remix of her song Dirty Hands, parentheses, Gone Mad, and the original version is up to almost 800,000 streams.
That's crazy.
That is a very impressive number.
Yeah. Well, that was on the first episode of this season of Lucifer. She got featured there.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess shout out to Lucifer. I gotta be honest, I didn't watch Lucifer. Like, it was one of the shows I didn't get into, but when I found out Kendra's song was in it, I wanted to hear it. So I went and I watched the show, and I was proud of our friend.
Yeah.
So everybody should go check out the dance remix of her song Dirty Hands. It's a song all about Kaz Brekker, one of the most popular Grishaverse characters, for good reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it's super danceable. Like, I cannot sit still when I hear it. It's great.
Yeah, I'm adding it to my running playlist. So, Kendra, you'll be on rotation while I'm out on runs. Yeah.
Nice.
Noise.
Actually, pretty much all of, even the ones that aren't the most up-tempo, like all of the songs she comes out with are songs that I feel like could be on a cardio playlist.
Yeah, pretty much.
They just, they get you going.
Yeah.
They're great songs. And then just to kind of round off our news, we have a couple of end-of-year business things we just wanted to remind everybody of. We've talked a little bit about our social media already, and our social medias are going to be absolutely crucial over the next couple of weeks, because since we have 2 more episodes planned for the year, it's going to involve a lot of listener participation, and social media is the way that we're going to be reaching out to listeners to kind of try to get them involved. Because what we're planning is, this is episode 13, where we're wrapping up our chapter discussion of Shadow and Bone. Episode 14 is going to be a kind of look back at the first book, just to kind of tie everything together, and it's going to be kind of like one long Voice of the People segment, because we're going to try to guide most of our conversation with feedback that we get from listeners. So we'll be sending you guys a lot of questions. We'll be throwing back some of our favorite moments from the show, from this past book that we can talk about with you guys. And then for episode 15, that one is just going to be, I mean, you guys know how we like to goof off and have fun. So we thought, since the holidays are coming around and the Winter Fate was a big part of the Shadow and Bone book, we thought that we would have our own Winter Fate for episode 15. So that one is going to be mostly games.
Yeah, we'll do some games. We'll pull back on some of the fun segments that we've done already. And I would say, if you have any ideas for games that you would like us to play, or any little bits and pieces that you think would go into the games, if you have a Mad Libs that you would like us to do, or you have a Kiss, Marry, Kill that you would like us to talk about, just send them on over to us on social media at Into the Fold Pod on Instagram and Twitter, or intothefoldpod@gmail.com, and we can even add those into the already established segments that we're doing. So if you feel like you have a good little addition to those, please just send us your suggestions, and we're more than happy to try them. I think it'd be fun.
I'll give you one for free, because this one I'm just so excited about, and I want people to be thinking about it, is I think we should do a white elephant gift exchange between characters. So we have our list of characters, right? You go down the list, and we have them like in a hat or something. So say I'm Mal, and I draw a name out, and I say, okay, Mal is buying something for Ivan, and Mal and Ivan know nothing about each other, so he just gets him like a gift card, like a Visa gift card that he can use anywhere.
Yeah, that has an activation fee on it, and you're like, how do I even use this thing?
Exactly.
Yeah, Jeff is very excited about this idea, and I think it's a fun idea. So I think that I have a feeling
it's going to be good.
Yeah, I think that'll be fun too. So listeners, look forward to Jeff and Juliana's Winter Fate. And with that, let's head on over to the Voice of the People. What is our first little bit of feedback that we have?
Our first little bit of feedback, this was something that you actually had posted to our Instagram, and every time I look at it, it just makes me laugh. It was I think this was supposed to be in response to one of our previous questions, which was, what would you do with Morozova Stag? Would you kill it, or would you let it go?
Correct.
And our friend Peyton, who lives in Canada, she expressed those. Yes, we do love Peyton. And Peyton said has first of all decided that the stag's name is Becky, and included the hashtag Free Becky, and said that we should hashtag Free Becky, let the stag go. That's where we are now. I
thought that was very funny.
I love it, because you know what? It's a headcanon that to me means one of two things, and perhaps Peyton will set us straight if neither of these is right. I figure either stags can be females. I Googled it. I don't know if that... I'm pretty sure they're not supposed to be. But, gender
I have no idea.
fluid. I was like, gender is a fun thing that it's
a construct.
Or dudes can be named Becky. That's my other... Yeah.
Yeah.
So either it's a dude named Becky or...
or
stags could...
Or a gender fluid stag.
Yeah, you know what? A gender fluid stag named Becky. I like that. I'll take that. Mm-hmm. So we will
it's now
we'll put
canon.
that out there. If Peyton has anything to say about that, I'm sure she will let us know. And while we're still on the subject, I was wondering, just because Juliana and I, we can't help it. We love coming up with fun nicknames for our friends. And we were wondering if we could call you Canadian Peyton.
Yes.
In case you are wondering, yes, it is because you said you were from Canada, and for some reason, when I put those two things in my head, I thought Canadian Peyton sounds like Canadian bacon. Please, I am begging you not to be offended by that. I don't have any control over it, but please take it as a compliment that we want to give you a fun nickname, but if you don't want us calling you that, we won't.
And if you think it's funny, I would think it's funny, if you find it humorous, to Photoshop your face onto a piece of Canadian bacon. So...
Oh my god.
I think that would be... If you find it humorous, let us know.
What are you doing?
And Photoshop your face onto a piece of Canadian bacon, and we will just love it so much. Thank you very much.
Oh my god.
Signing off.
Okay.
Beep.
So, about our... podcast question of the week from last week. We got 3 answers on our... Oh, wait, there's 4 here, isn't there?
We got 4 answers. Yes, I just added one last night, Jeff.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we have 4 lovely answers. So the question this week was, if you were in Jenga's position in this current timeline that we're in right now, what would you do? And we got some really nice responses from a bunch of people. We had Madame Moon's cosplay say, "Excuse my language for a moment, but the Darkling doesn't need loyalty. He needs an attitude adjustment. I don't think I'd be loyal to him." And to this person, they sent us a DM, and I said, "Go off, Queen!"
But she said, "Excuse my language."
Yeah, I don't know what language she was excusing, because I didn't find any offensive language in there, but it's all from interpretation.
No, the reason I said 3 responses from before is because that's what I remembered before you added Madame Moon's cosplay's response. The other 3 are different, and yet I feel like they all express exactly the same thought.
Yeah.
Paulina said, "I think I can't choose," which is fair. It just, I don't know. How should I know?
Yeah.
Allie says, "I would say Alina because friendship is more important than power and success, but knowing what Jenya had went through, I can understand her choice." And then what was the last one?
So our last response came from Claire at Claire Loves Books, and they said, "It's so complicated because while her friendship with Alina is special, her relationship with the Darkling justifies all the suffering she went through. Like, if she didn't still believe that in his mission, she would have to face up to the horror she experienced and how she was exploited by both the Darkling and the King. Also, she's only known Alina for a few months, but was the Darkling's service since she was a child. And that complicates things further, despite her connection with Alina." I think this is a really good point, because you're right, Claire, that the Darkling's relationship with Jenya, no matter how problematic it is still a longer and more established one than the one she has with Alina. And if I were Jenya too, I wouldn't know how much to trust Alina either, because I've only known her for a couple of months now at this point. And I don't know if I would trust her 100%. And you make a good point too, where if you betray the Darkling, it's not going to look good for you in any form of the word, pretty much.
No, that's true. I mean, it's like joining a gang, once you're in, you're in. You can't just suddenly decide one day that you're going to peace out and walk away. It doesn't work like that. But I feel like what these last three responses all have in common is that they express how impossible this decision is. Because as you said, she's been with the Darkling for a long time now, and she has put everything that she has into trusting in his vision. And yet, I feel like part of the reason this is such a difficult decision is because she's finally starting to see that the amount of time is really the only difference. Because, yeah, she wants the Grisha to be able to be safe and to be happy, but she's not an ignorant person. She's been around the Darkling long enough to know that he's up to some funny stuff, and that he might not necessarily mean everything he says the way he says it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is time really so much of a factor that she shouldn't be looking for anything better?
I think it's also just the threat, too, of her betraying the Darkling, and then what would happen in the aftermath of that as well, too.
That's fair.
Yeah. So, pretty much we've learned that this is a complex situation, and Jangya was put in a very bad situation by the Darkling, and the Darkling is a bad person. The end.
Like, all the way through to his core. Great makeup skills, though.
Yeah, and he has some really great decor. We're going to see some more of that decor later in these chapters, and it's just chef's kiss, on point, flamboyant, and just wow. Wow, 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 wow.
He has some great decor, but he has no decorum.
Burn.
Ba-dum-cha.
Okay, so Jeff, our last thing on the Voice of the People is we got some reviews in, which is great because I didn't even look at the reviews. So thank you for looking at the reviews, because there are some little gems in here that I think are very, very nice, and I'm excited to hear them for the first time because I didn't read them yet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Just wow. Like, I've tried to, like, slowly rewind. I'm going to rewind that, and I'm going to play it at, like, half speed to make sure that I caught every syllable, but it sounded very enthusiastic.
So, Jeff, would you like to read us, in a much slower pace than Juliana would, the reviews that we have?
This first one comes to us from one of my favorite Instagram accounts to look at. It's grisha.verse.art.
Ooh, yes. We love that person. They are lovely.
And they must love us too, because they said, "You peoples are amazing," in all capital letters. So anyway, Grisha.verse.art says, "I love this podcast. Jeff and Juliana are great podcast hosts and dive deeply into the story of Shadow and Bone. I love the amusing side conversations. They really bring this book to life. I've noticed that some of the other reviews call this podcast boring or too stretched out, but I believe that the time they take to talk about the story is fully worth it. Keep it up."
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much. That's really sweet.
It really is. And they mentioned that some of the other reviews said that we were boring or too stretched out. And you know what? Honestly, a lot of those reviews came out like when we haven't really talked about this on the show, but those reviews hit when we first came out, and Juliana and I were exchanging several messages thinking, what on earth are we doing wrong?
Yeah.
In the end, we decided we weren't really doing anything wrong. It's just that we needed to figure out what kind of show that we were. I think we wanted to sound really smart.
Yeah.
And maybe, like, especially, I'll take a lot of the blame for that. I listened to some of the earlier episodes once in a while just to kind of compare, like, where we are now. I bored myself at times.
I was just nervous, too, because I obviously don't know as much about this story as you do, Jeff. And I felt like, and we've talked about this, too, I felt that you were just like really the authority, and I was like, oh no, I'm gonna say something wrong. Not that you would do anything mean or anything, but I just didn't want to be wrong for the listeners and
no, of course not.
Stuff like that. But now I'm just fully embracing it, and if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. Hey, whatever. I still hate Mal.
Yeah,
that's all that really matters.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, save that for the chapter discussion.
Oh, I had some feelings, don't worry.
Oh, I don't doubt that. But no, let that be a lesson to anybody who might hear this, who's thinking about starting up your own podcast. Just do the show that you want to do and just enjoy it, because if you're not enjoying it, then there's no reason for you to do it.
Plus, it takes a while for you to find your rhythm and everything. So, I mean, I can attest for that from this and the other show that I host, Puffcast. It's just, it takes a while to find the perfect rhythm between the hosts and what the show is formatted as. And in no way are Jeff and I at our perfectional level of everything. We are still working towards that. But every podcast we do is one recording closer to getting the best we can possibly get. So thank you all for joining us on this long journey of fun.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I love that they love that we have the fun side conversations. Thank goodness that at least some people enjoy that, because we do it a lot. Yeah. We do it a lot. Like, if we tried to write a roadmap of a conversation between you and me, there would be so many left turns and, like, U-turns and...
roads that don't go anywhere.
Oh, yeah. Roads that don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, construction on the interstate. I don't know. Now, you mentioned Puffcast.
I did mention Puffcast, and it looks like they left us a review, too. I assuming that's Mel, not Mal.
Yeah, see, I was going to ask you. The listeners cannot see the conversation happening between you and I, because this is an audio podcast, but I need you to look me in my eye and tell me you didn't write this.
No.
Did you not write this?
I wrote our first review, remember?
Oh, yeah.
I'm Jay Coughlin. That's my login for Apple Podcasts. So I will take full credit for writing the very first review of this podcast and giving us all 5 stars. Thank you very much, Jeffrey.
Fair enough. So then this is a review on behalf of Puffcast, written by, we assume, our dear Mel, not Mal. And they called our show a delight for your ears. And they said, Jeff and Juliana are a great pair of best friends that truly enjoy these stories and give you a detailed overview of each chapter. The discussions are mindful and fun. Added bonus, the occasional breaking into song moments. We need a Harry Potter / Shadow and Bone crossover, guys. Puffcast approved.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, we'll definitely be doing a crossover just because I'm a host on both those shows and Jeff is involved with Puffcast, and it's just kind of, eventually we'll do a crossover episode. So if you're not a listener to Puffcast, go ahead and listen to that anywhere podcasts are found. And if you're already a listener, thank you for listening. Appreciate you. Sending you little Puff hugs and Grisha hugs. You know, both of them. I don't know what the difference is, but that's okay. So, that is the end of our Voice of the People. So now we will get into our main discussion, which is our discussion of chapters 21, 22, and the after segment of the book. So listeners, if you have not read those chapters and you do not want to be spoiled, please pause the podcast here, go back and read those chapters, and come right on back. We will be waiting for you right here.
Basically, if you have not finished the book, because this is the end of it.
Well, there's one little bit in the back of the American edition, that letter.
We'll talk about that in our wrap-up episode.
Chapter 21, Jeff. What happens in chapter 21? Please.
So Alina starts to wonder how many of her fellow Grisha have regrets about being part of the Darkling's plan. Probably not that many. We don't know. But Alina pleads with the Darkling to send Mal away instead of killing him, but the Darkling knows that what she's really trying to do is just keep him alive until they can find a way to escape again, and instead he swears that Mal is going to be used as Volcra bait on the Shadowfold the following day. The Darkling makes even more arguments to support his actions by trying to convince Alina that victory over one's enemies is the only way to freedom. Alina struggles to push the Darkling away because her power still feels the attraction of his power. Alina and Mal are allowed to spend the night in each other's company, which they spend reliving old memories and trying not to think about what's going to happen the next day.
Sorry, I was kissing Mal through a cell bar door thing.
I'm a little bit surprised that that's something you'd be interested in doing.
You know, I'm not.
You can loathe somebody and they can be a good kisser, and it's okay for you to admit that.
Yeah, I mean, I personally have not kissed Mal. He might be a good kisser because we have already learned that he's tossing around some of these girls left and right that he is in the First Army with. So he's had experience. So I want to assume that he's better than your average 17-year-old, but that just feels really weird to me because I'm 28 and that does not feel okay.
I feel like Mal would be the kind of kisser, like, he would just kiss you really, really hard on the mouth and, like, not do what some people do, which is just, like, when they go in, like, their mouth is opening up wide, Like they're just immediately about to go,
they're
it's
gonna
like,
eat
no,
you.
dude, you have to like, no, that's not how you do it.
It's a gradual lead-in. It's not I am going to eat your face now.
Exactly. It's like, so, to some people, like, kissing is just, I mean, we've used phrases like battle of the tongues.
Smashing mouths.
Smashing of the mouth. Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. Is that where the band Smash Mouth gets their name from?
I
Is
hope
that what
so.
that is?
I really hope so. That would be great if they were just reading if they were like reading a fan fiction and one of the guys walked up and said, "Hey, we need a band name. What should we name it?" And one of the other bandmates looks up from his Harry Potter fan fiction or his Shadow and Bone fan fiction that he's reading and says, "How about Smashing Mouths?" And they say, "How about Smash Mouth?" And that is how Smash Mouth came to be. It is the product of one of the bandmates being a big fan of fan fiction.
I like it. This is canon now.
It is canon now. We will add that to the list.
But getting back to Mal and Alina, this thing where she's trying to get him to send Mal to Sabea just so that he can spend the rest of his life in prison instead of being executed, this feels like a Game of Thrones kind of thing to me. Because you haven't read Game of Thrones or watched the show, right?
No.
So in the northernmost border of Westeros, they have this thing called the Wall where people go to take the black. That's what they call it. Because you're basically becoming a combination of like a monk and a soldier is how you could think about it. You're like a holy order of border patrol. But for a lot of people, if you go to the Wall and you take the black, then you can't ever marry, you can't hold any titles, you can't hold any land. And so a lot of times, if like you have a bastard child that you need to hide, or like if you're an important person who's supposed to be punished, but they need to find something else to do with you, then that's what they would do. They would send you to the Wall and you would take the black, and that way you can still be of service to the kingdom, but technically you don't. Exactly. You're alive, but you don't quite have your liberty. This feels to me kind of like that kind of thing.
Yeah, where he would be... She's trying to find something that the Darkling will agree to that is not death. And so it's her version of compromise of thinking, at least he's alive. Even if he's not in good conditions up there, at least I'm not responsible for killing him, and at least I don't have to know that he's dead, even though it's definitely not a good living condition for Mal if he heads up there. But I think she thinks the Darkling also will be more agreeable to that. The more treacherous the conditions she is willing to send Mal to, the more agreeable that he will be to agreeing with her and not just straight up killing Mal for funsies.
Now, I wonder... I know what I think. I wonder what you think. If the Darkling had said, okay, sure, I'll send him to Sabea, would you actually expect him to, like, stick to his word?
No.
No.
No, not
like
at
maybe
all.
Even if he sent him there, it would be the kind of thing where the Darkling would say, "Oh, you want me to keep him alive? Okay, I'll keep him alive." But like he's being tortured 24 hours a day by Grisha.
Ivan.
Yeah, like that's Ivan's new assignment. He is going to be Mal's permanent tormentor for eternity.
Yep.
And when Alina finally finds out, because somehow she will, she goes to the Darkling, and the Darkling says, "Hey, you didn't want me to kill him, and I didn't."
He's got a beating heart. He's technically alive. Is he conscious?
I mean, he's got a beating heart most of the time. Like, if it stops, we can, start it back up again.
Yeah, we have some squallors. We have access to electricity that comes from the sky, We'll just do a quick little zap, and whoop, there he is. Okay, he's back again.
Now, you have said a few times up to this point that you like when the Darkling is petty.
I love the petty Darkling.
That he's dramatic.
He is so dramatic.
We have officially reached, like, peak. The Darkling is being a complete and total for no reason.
Oh yeah, he's really going out of his way to be extra and just really make everything theatrics as he goes through every single motion of his body. It's all one big show that he is just enjoying with every cell of his body.
Because there is no reason for him to bring her into the tent and say, oh, I'm going to make him vulcrabate tomorrow, unless he just wants to be really, really just a total dick to Alina.
He could literally just tell her the next day when they're on the skiff, like bring Mal out and say, and now we kill the tracker, and just chuck him over the side. He doesn't need to bring her into this very, very, very fancy tent with his big chair and his goblet of fire in the middle of the room with all of the awnings and the gold decor and jewels and things like that are just there.
And the kvass just sitting in front of him.
He's the guy who's sitting on... This reminds me, too, because when I went to Disney World, when you get to the end of the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, the animatronic of Johnny Depp is sitting there with, like, his legs and stuff over the side of the big chair that's covered in, like, gold and jewels. And this is how I imagine the Darkling is sitting with, like, a bottle of kvass in one hand and then his drink in the other hand and just draping himself over all of the fancy chair that he has. And
that's an image.
Yes. I'll see if I can find a picture of that animatronic and crop the Darkling's face onto it.
Do that, please. And while you're doing that, I don't know exactly how or why this thought entered my head, but I've been wondering, because I know that everybody has their tolerance and everybody metabolizes alcohol differently, but I have to wonder if being alive as long as he has had any kind of effect on his ability to tolerate alcohol, because this isn't the first time they've mentioned that the Darkling is drinking kvass. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's a personal thing, because some people can just drink straight up liquor. I never can. So I just wonder, like, how much kvass would it take to get the Darkling tipsy, do you think?
I think it would honestly depend on what he's been doing his whole life. And it sounds like he's just been drinking this stuff his whole long life. So I imagine because of that, his alcohol tolerance is up. I will say that from a nutritional dietitian who works with elderly people's standpoint, usually your tolerance goes down. But the thing is that most of the people, especially that I work with, don't drink alcohol on any kind of regular basis, and they haven't for a really long time. So that's kind of one of the big factors too, is what is your body used to, as well as what is your kind of starting point. Because I, like you, Jeff, if I drink like one shot of tequila, I'm feeling it hard. I am just, woo boy.
This point that the Darkling made, for all his pettiness and for all his being a total jerk, for no reason other than just he's enjoying being a jerk, he makes an interesting point when he mentions that Alina didn't really think about how her running away would affect everybody else.
I think that's a really valid point, because that actually is something that she probably should have thought about. I mean, she came from the Winter Fate, where they had just showcased her abilities and been like, we have the most important weapon, quote unquote, now on our side. And to announce mere hours later that you have lost this, the other statesmen and people from abroad would have not taken that very well at all. And definitely lost all trust that they had in the Darkling.
And I think they mentioned in even the chapters that we talked about in the last episode, didn't they? That if the Darkling says when he catches up with them and they kill the stag, that if word got out about Alina's disappearance, then the other countries would be like marching on the Ravkan borders and trying to invade, because they would either be trying to capture her or they would be trying to take advantage of how vulnerable Ravka is without their now precious Sun Summoner.
Yeah, because...
But I feel like this point would carry a lot more weight if the Darkling who she now loathes wasn't the one making it. Like, I couldn't help wondering, what if Jenya, in that moment between her and Jenya before we get to this moment, what if Jenya had said, didn't you realize when you ran away how much trouble you were making for the rest of us? Do you have any idea what it's been like since, everybody found out you were gone?
Yeah, I definitely see it hitting a lot harder, and Alina feeling guilty, actually, in that situation, as opposed to where we are now, where she feels like a little bit of guilt, but mostly we still hate the Darkling, and that's the overarching feeling in this whole chapter, pretty much.
Yeah, like she's determined to hate the Darkling now, so it doesn't matter. He could tell her the theory of everything, the purpose of meaning, the secret to true happiness, and like everything that she would ever need to know, and she would reject it outright just to spite him.
Yeah, pretty much.
We draw a lot of parallels, though.
Between Harry Potter and Shadow and Bone.
We can't really help it, can we?
No, I mean, Harry Potter is kind of our main OG fandom, Jeff, I would say. And it doesn't make it any better than this fandom, but it's just kind of where we started out.
There's a moment in this chapter that really just, more so far than anything, forces me to draw parallels between the Darkling and Voldemort in the Harry Potter series, because the Darkling's point in this chapter is essentially victory over our enemies is the only way to be free. You have to dominate people. You have to be the best. You have to be the baddest. You have to be, people have to be afraid of you or they won't do what you say. And with Voldemort, he has a quote where he says, "There is no good or evil. There is only power and those too weak to seek it." Yeah. So they're saying the same thing. The only way for you to truly thrive is to be better than everybody by proving it.
And be the most powerful ever, because fear is also a weapon that you have to utilize as well.
And now that the Darkling has Alina's super light shield to protect him inside the fold, now he has the final piece that he can prove that to everybody who doesn't already believe that he's the strongest.
He has all of the playing pieces that he needs to really just become the most powerful, the most feared, the most Darkling ever.
I want you to talk about, there's two things in here that I want you to talk about before we move on from this chapter. Yes, first, I want you to share your favorite quote ever.
Oh, this is my favorite quote. This is definitely the best quote that's in this entire book. I can't speak for the other books yet because I haven't reread them yet, but this is definitely the best quote in the entirety of Shadow and Bone. So, okay, are you ready for this one, Jeff?
Hit me.
So this quote comes from Mal. "If we start running tallies on stupid, we both know who is going to come out ahead." And to that I say, I called it. I knew, Mal, I can read you like an open book. This just, he confirms for me everything I have said up until this point. I will now drop this mic, theoretically, because it's on a stand, and walk away. Goodbye!
Look, I'm the person here on this program who has been trying to encourage my best friend and co-host to have a more open-minded perspective of a certain character, and yet I don't think either of us is going to disagree that if they were running tallies on stupid, he would have a much higher tally than Alina's.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Regardless if I like Mal or not, he definitely has a much larger pool of stuff in the stupid category. So I, again, just wanted to say that this goes to prove that Juliana is not crazy and that my points are very valid. Thank you very much. I would like to hold my opinions as they are. I stand as we go to the end of this book, Jeff, still not liking Mal. The end. Thank you, listeners. And Jeff.
You're welcome. And now, sort of counter to that, the next point that you have listed underneath your favorite quote, I'd like you to read that exactly as you wrote it, if you would, please.
Oh, legitimately, though, Mal is actually trying to express his feelings correctly now.
Oh!
Like I said, I admitted it. Like, I am not... I will take people's opinions. I will take facts into account, along with Mal being the one with the higher count of stupid things, and I will take that into account. Will I agree with them all? No. Will I say that they're valid? Yes.
Of course you won't, because you're determined.
Oh yeah, I'm stuck in this. I mean, come on. We've had this the whole book, and I don't... It's not... Let me tell you, listeners. Sit down. Take a seat. because this is not going to get any better as the books go on. My hatred of Mal is only going to multiply by the millions at a time. So don't you worry, this is just the starting round. Just get comfortable here, scope out a spot to sit, put your blanket down, maybe a few pillows, grab a snack, hang out, because this is only going to get more and more intense as it goes on. Maybe bring some Pedialyte. I had some earlier today. Just make sure your electrolytes aren't off, because we are going to go through a storm of Mal stupidity.
It's okay. We'll counterbalance that with our love of some characters we've yet to meet. Just trust me, when we start to get into Siege and Storm, we are going to have all kinds of fun character discussions. Characters we love and characters we absolutely do not love. I cannot wait for us to get into our character discussions in Siege and Storm.
Siege and Storm is my favorite of the 3 original books, I will say.
I think I would have to agree with you on the whole.
Yeah.
I would have to agree.
Because we both know, Jeff, one of the characters that we're going to get in that book is my favorite character, very much so.
Whose name you pronounce in a very unique way.
Yes, I do. Woo-hoo.
You do. Even after we've talked about it a bunch of times.
It's more fun to upset you like that. Let's be real.
Oh, it doesn't upset me. You just you say it how you say it. The only reason I corrected you at first is because I honestly thought that you were pronouncing it incorrectly and not catching it, so I tried to catch it for you. But then when I started to realize, oh, it's just the way that she says it, it's like, it's no big deal.
Yeah, it's just the way that I say it. I pronounce a lot of things wrong in my head. I learned that very hard when the first Harry Potter movie came out. I learned a lot of things. So, and I'm learning this as I go as well too. So, but do we have any other points we'd like to make about chapter 21, Jeff?
I don't think so. I think we should just move on to the moment that this whole book has been building towards this moment. Let's find out, shall we, if it pays off.
Alina is forced to board a skiff along with the Darkling, several Grisha, and a group of witnesses to represent not only Ravka, but the Shuhan and Fjorda as well. As they journey into the Shadow Fold, the Darkling begins demonstrating his increased power with the help of Alina and her amplifier collar. Alina has a glimpse of West Ravka as the Darkling starts expanding the fold to destroy Novokibirsk. The Darkling informs the assembled masses that he can do the same for their countries if they do not do as he says. Even though he does not need to use Mal for vocal bait, the Darkling has him thrown over to his death anyway. Alina uses the power of the cut to get away from the Darkling, and he tries to use the power of guilt to get her to stay. Hint, hint, it does not work. After abandoning the others in the Shadow Fold, Mal and Alina manage to escape the fold, and they agree to make a run for it.
That's got to be a tough choice.
Yeah.
Because there's a moment where she tries to persuade the other Grisha that the Darkling has now proven in this moment by saying evil. Everybody has to do what I say, or I'm going to expand the Shadow Fold, and basically I'll wipe out the whole world if I have to.
Yeah.
And she just kind of gestures to him, and it's like, guys, he literally just said he will destroy the entire world and everyone in it unless the world and everyone in it bends to his will. Do you guys really want to be a part of that?
Yeah, she's pretty much being like, what are you doing? Why are you with this guy? You know he's evil. He just proved it to you. He killed all these people. And he's manipulating me to help kill all these people. Like, what are you doing, my dudes?
And the thing with Alina is that normally in a situation like this, it might be one of those times where you say the grass always looks greener on the other side of the fence. But in this case, she couldn't see the other side of the fence. So someone told her the grass was greener and she believed it. And that could be said of a lot of these Grisha. The Darkling has been telling them for some time that the grass is greener on the other side of the Shadow Fold, and they're willing to believe it. Mm-hmm. But the truth is, he just wants to, like he said, he wants to dominate everything.
Yeah. I think that the Grisha have been given this image of Grisha being safe in the world and Grisha ruling the world, but it's a pretty vague image, I imagine, what the Darkling is telling them, whereas we can tell that the Darkling has very specific plans in his own head that he's concocted, and probably a much different version of what Ravka would look like in his head as what he's telling the Grishas, because I assume he's telling the Grisha, hey, we're going to be free, everything's going to be great, we'll be in control, which isn't a lie, but he doesn't tell them how they're going to rule or how they're going to be in control, and the fact that they will be killing multiple people in multiple countries, and maybe in the end even being the only people left to actually rule anyway, because the Darkling has killed everyone else at that point. We don't know where this could have gone.
No. And they, even if they, whether they saw it coming or not, or whether this is the first moment where a lot of these Grisha are starting to see this is who the Darkling really is, I can understand their hesitancy to betray him in that moment, because it's such a random place to pull wisdom from. But there's a scene in The Mummy where they're confronting this Weasley little guy who used to be best friends with Brendan Fraser's character, and they're basically saying, you sold out the whole human race to work with this terrifying mummy who came back from the dead. What's wrong with you? And he says, it's better to be the right hand of the devil than in his path.
Does that guy wear a hat?
He does wear a hat.
Oh, I saw him on the mummy ride that I went on. He was wrapped in mummy clothing, and the mummy was not wrapped in mummy clothing. And looking kind of gross.
Oh, I would imagine not.
Yeah.
Those words have always stuck with me, because there's always, in every story, where somebody who is essentially the devil is taking over everywhere, there are always going to be people who are willing to knuckle under and submit, because that's their survivalist instincts. They say to themselves, I can be on the side of right and die, or I can be on the side that lives.
These are our Peter Pettigrews of this book series right now.
Yeah, here's another one for you. Like that guy was willing to betray everyone and everything he ever cared about just to stay alive.
Yeah. And this is kind of what a lot of these Grisha will be doing. There'll be some of them possibly, as we'll get into in the later books, killing their family members or being witness to their family members being killed because of the cause that the Darkling has created and what he wants to do. So the fact that they're doing that is just terrible, straight out the gate. But I think in any other given situation, the Grisha who are helping the Darkling reach these means wouldn't be doing these things, because they're not actually bad people to begin with. The Darkling is a bad person. Like, let's be real here.
Oh, yeah.
He's a bad person. There's no going around that. But these Grisha who have just kind of fallen into his path, they are just a product of being in the wrong place at the wrong time and wanting to live, essentially.
Absolutely right.
I would just like to say, I was listening to this audiobook last night, and I had to, like, take a second for myself, because what I heard was a frightened wail went up from the crowd. And in my head, I said, wow, there's a whale in the Shadowfold now? They brought a whale? I just imagine this giant whale just like,
welcome to the Shadowfold.
I'm too big. I just imagine that all the Grisha are standing there on the skiff looking at the Darkling.
I wish I could speak whale.
Yeah, I wish I could speak whale too. We'll consult with Dory later today. She's good at that. But I just imagine that these Grisha are standing on the skiff in the Shadowfold, and they're looking at the Darkling, and then all of a sudden, like, you just see a giant whale flop up from behind them, and you're like, whoop, and it just falls right back down, and that's the extent of the whale.
I mean, honestly, would this whole experience be any more bizarre for everybody on board this skiff if that had been what happened?
And then Fenrir turns to Ivan and goes, was that a whale? And Ivan goes, yes. And Fenrir goes, oh.
And then someone says, whale, I'll be.
Whale, I'll be.
There's a quote when Alina is about to use the cut to just destroy a whole bunch of people standing in front of her, where she starts to realize that the difference between her and the Darkling is that she understands mercy and he never will.
Yes.
The quote is, the stag had been showing me my strength, not just the price of mercy, but the power it bestowed, and mercy was something the Darkling would never understand. I had spared the stag's life. The power of that life belonged to me as surely as it belonged to the man who had taken it.
Mm-hmm.
I like this quote for a lot of reasons. First of all, that it kind of goes with a discussion that we'd had previously about absorbing an amplifier's power without having to kill the creature that the amplifier comes from.
Mm-hmm.
This, to me, feels a little bit like that. Like, this could have been the moment where we could have seen the reality of absorbing the power of an amplifier without having to actually murder the creature.
Yeah, well, it kind of is, because we do see Alina use the cut, and that is because she's able to realize that she can utilize these powers because of that mercy that she's shown to the stag, and that the fact that the Darkling has not shown mercy to probably anyone ever, and that connection is stronger than that of just straight up killing someone or something out of spite. And for me, Jeff, this gave me big Voldemort, Harry Potter energy as well, too, because if the Darkling equals Voldemort, then mercy equals love, because as we know in the Harry Potter books, love is the one thing that Voldemort will never understand.
In that regard, I agree, but you can show mercy to people that you hate. Case in point, she hates the Darkling, she shows him mercy.
You can, but this is just the equivalent. It's not meaning that he can't, but I mean I don't think the Darkling can show mercy. At least in these books, Jeff. We might have a further discussion later down the road, but at this point, I think that's where we're at.
See, here's the thing. She has this great quote about the importance of showing mercy and how she has that, but the Darkling never will. And then the Darkling tries to turn that on her, because when she and Mal are about to get away and she's going to have to, lower her light shield so that they can run for it, the Darkling tries to get her to not do that by saying, "You can't leave us here to die, Alina." And then she does, because she knows that the only way she and Mal are going to get out of this is if they just turn and run.
Well, and the Darkling can get out of there on its own. We've already established in this chapter that like calls to like, and the Darkling is one with the Volcra, essentially.
And they still, it's not only that, they still have Inferni on board to use their fire power to try to keep the Volcra at bay, but the more of them there are, the harder that becomes. So really, they're going to have to retreat immediately as soon as Alina leaves. So maybe Alina is counting on that they won't die. Yeah. But at the same time, it's an interesting thought. She has this great speech about mercy and how important it is, and then she has to completely give up the idea of having mercy on all these people in front of her so that she can spare herself and the one person that she cares for more than anybody.
I think, too, some of it is probably the non-reaction from the Grisha as well. The fact that they don't seem to want to join her either is why she reacts the way that she does. I can definitely see her staying there with the other Grisha if everyone else was like, "Yeah, he's a bad dude. Let's fight him." And yeah, meet me in the back. Meet me in the park. Where's it? Meet me in the something. It's going down.
Meet me in the bar. It's going down. Meet me in the club. It's going down.
Yeah.
That's all the words that I know to that song.
Throwback to like an early 2000s, late 90s song.
The only thing I remember about that song is it was featured briefly in the movie Norbit, and I don't know anybody who loves that movie except me.
I've never seen that movie a second in my life, Jeff.
The last thing that we really see in this chapter after they get away is them, again, Mal goes out to buy clothes and he buys ugly clothes, and they joke about how he has no taste in fashion, and it's a callback to an earlier chapter, but it's also, it's nice to know, it's more refreshing this time around in a way, because it's nice to know that after everything that they've just been through, after everything they've been through this entire book, that they can still find something to laugh about.
Yeah. And that they...
like literally anything to laugh about.
Yeah, they're friends and they love each other, and it's nice to laugh with your friends, even though the situation that they're in is absolutely crazy. But
see, how do you even call it that, though? Because they're definitely more than friends, but they're not dating or going out. There is something between them that is stronger than friendship, but not as binding legally as a marriage.
Well, they both said that they love each other already.
Yeah, they do.
I would say that I would say, in my terms, they're casually going out because they've established that they love each other and they established that they are an item. So I would say that they are going out. I would not say that they were dating.
They are each other's special somebody.
Yes, they're each other's person for now. But
Yeah.
that's kind of where we leave it. They're goofing off and they're gonna go and try and escape somewhere where the Darkling cannot find them.
Good luck with that.
Have fun.
But that brings us to
after
the epilogue.
The epilogue. Jeff, what happens in the epilogue?
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Once again, we're back to doing that thing from before where we refer to Alina and Mal as the boy and the girl, except this time we're just kind of doing it as a callback because they aren't actually the boy and the girl anymore. They're a bit older now.
And we know who they are.
They managed... Yeah, we know who they are. But once again, we're calling Alina and Mal the boy and the girl, and they've bought passage onto a ship bound for Novia Zem using the gold pins that Jenya put in Alina's hair. And while they're on the ship, they're hearing some rumors, mainly that people think the Sun Summoner may be dead, and that the First and Second Armies are preparing for war with the neighboring countries of Fjerda and the Shu Han, which after everything that just happened, assuming that everybody that was on that skiff managed to survive, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about how somebody is always at war. We're never not at war in this universe. That's the thing that is happening all the time.
Yeah.
So, but what they're gearing up for is that there's going to be this massive like siege. I mean, the title of the next book is Siege and Storm.
Yeah.
There are rumors that the other countries are marching. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen.
There will be some sieging and there will be some storming because it's just what happens when there's a war. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. We just end where we began, and
Alina's having some bad dreams. Mal is giving her the snuggles every night. That part I do enjoy, but I'm a big fan of snuggles. Stop making that face at me. I'm trying to have a soft and cuddly marshmallow moment. Just can I have this, please?
Fine.
Like, you can make your faces at me later. Just like let me enjoy the snuggling. Okay, I'm finished. Does it add anything, you think, doing the epilogue in the same style that we did the prologue where they're the boy and the girl?
Now that I'm actually thinking about it, Jeff, I actually feel like it would have been nicer to just leave them as they were and give us this kind of outro and intro into the next book from their perspective as we got the rest of the book except for the intro. I would actually prefer that. I can't remember how we start out the second book, but if we started out like this, then I mean fine. But I don't know. I'm not actually like a huge fan of the boy and the girl. Here they are, blah 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 thing. I'm not revolted by it, but it's not anything that I feel like I must have.
See, I can look at it and it reminds me of, not that I was ever anywhere near this level of writing talent, but like when I would write some of my lengthier or more important papers, like especially thinking about my my thesis that I wrote when I was in grad school, think about some of the choices that I made when I was writing just to kind of make it like stand out a little bit more. Like I can respect is because we've talked a lot about how this book is her first in this is her first huge book to come out. This is the introduction to this whole universe where she clearly has got big plans. Even when this first book came out, I know that she didn't know, and we'll talk about this in our wrap-up episode for Shadow and Bone, but she wasn't sure how the book was going to go over, but assuming everything went according to plan and this actually took off, she did have more stories in mind. So I think she was setting up a thing here. Like, this is how these books are going to begin and end, and it's going to be significant, but you have to kind of stick with it to really kind of feel the full impact.
Yeah. So, listeners, let us know if you liked this ending thingy and the starting thingy. So, let us know. Because I know that with Harry Potter especially, there's a lot of feelings that people have about the epilogue for that. Probably not as many feelings about this epilogue, but, you know, if you have feelings, not podcast, intothefullpod@gmail.com. But that is the end of the book, Jeff. And that is the end of our discussion today. So, listeners, thank you so much for joining us this far, and congratulations on completing your first book with us. We don't have any stickers or anything on our person right now to send you, but honestly, if you send us an email, I'll probably send you a sticker.
Say, what do you mean we don't have stickers on our person? Then where did I get the ones you sent me?
No, I mean, like, in this moment when the listeners are listening, I'm not going to knock on their door and be like, and you get a sticker, because I don't live near you. So let us know where you live and I will send you a sticker.
Yeah. We are going to move on to our fun segment. It is the return of Jeff and Juliana's Friendship Corner!
Yay! So, as we mentioned at the top of the episode, I went on a vacation this week. So Jeff and I thought it would be kind of fun to talk about some of the things that I experienced and did while I was on vacation. I did go to Disney World and Universal Studios down in Florida, and Jeff thought it would be fun if we did this interview style. So I'm going to let him take it from here because I feel like he has a plan for this.
Welcome to Jeff and Juliana's Friendship Corner. I am your host, Luke, me and DeFace. My guest today is Juliana, who recently went on a solo vacation to two of the happiest places in the world, and we are going to find out all about it. Juliana, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, Luke. I'm really excited to be here today and tell you all about my experience down in Florida.
So why don't we just start off by talking a little bit about where did you go?
Oh, so I went to Disney World for the first 2 days I was down there. I went to Magic Kingdom the first day, and then I went to Hollywood Studios the second day, and then the next 3 days I spent between the two parks at Universal Orlando, which is the studios, and the Islands of Adventure. Woohoo!
So everyone knows that you are fond of Ariel from The Little Mermaid. That is your favorite.
Yes, she is my favorite.
Did you get to experience a lot of Ariel, the Little Mermaid, while you were in the Magic Kingdom?
You know, I was kind of sad because Ariel's grotto is closed right now. That's the place where she sits in her shell and you can go meet and greet her. That was closed. I was kind of sad with that. And in Hollywood Studios, they used to have a Little Mermaid show that they did because they have a bunch of shows that they do. And that was one of the ones that closed down with COVID and never reopened. So I was kind of sad that I didn't get to see that. But I did get to go on the Little Mermaid Journey Under the Sea ride, which, for my own purposes, I have the DVD from like 2011 that's like the special edition DVD that has the computer generated prototype for that ride as a special feature that I have probably ridden like 200 times virtually on my TV screen. So it was very cool to see it in person. I will, though, say that the Little Mermaid animatronic that they made was kind of creepy in a way. Her eyes are huge. Like, they made her eyes ginormous, and none of the other characters look like that. It's just her animatronic, and it's kind of offsetting in a way.
Now, you mentioned going on the Little Mermaid ride. Were there any rides that you got to go on that are some of the more famous Disney rides that you felt like lived up to the hype?
Oh, so I went on Space Mountain again, and last time I went to Disney World, Space Mountain was my favorite ride, and I can tell you what, and can confirm for all you hungry listeners out there, that Space Mountain is still Juliana's favorite ride at the Magic Kingdom, because it's just so cool. It's one of those, have you been to Disney World, Luke?
No, I never have.
Oh, okay. Well, it's an indoor roller coaster. So you get to go through the indoor cool roller coaster in Tomorrowland at Magic Kingdom to Disney World. So that one is my favorite ride out of all the rides there. But I did go on a lot of fun rides, like we went on It's a Small World, we went on the Haunted Mansion, some of the classics, and we went on Pirates of the Caribbean, the Jungle Cruise, which is now the Jingle Cruise. They retheme it for the holidays as the Jingle Cruise, and the Jingle Cruise, essentially...
Oh, that's clever.
It was very cute, and what that ride essentially is a bunch of animatronics of a crashed and failed safari expedition that are put along this human-made river, and your host's job is to try and make as many puns as physically possible throughout the entirety of the boat ride with them. So... I would say this was a ride that was meant for me. I very much enjoyed every single pun that our very funny boat driver supplied us with.
I would say that was definitely a role that you were born to play, just based on knowing you for so long.
Oh my god, I wanted to be I was like, this is a job that I could do like all day long and really love my job. If I could be the boat driver for one of these boats, I feel like I would do a great job. So Disney, if you're listening, hire me. I want to be a Jungle Cruise boat captain, please.
Now, I also understand that a big attraction for going to the Magic Kingdom is that there are people dressed up in large suits portraying the characters that one might see in a Disney film.
Yes, there are. There are a lot of characters, but unfortunately with COVID, they've kind of shut that down a little bit. You can do meet and greets from like far away, like they'll have little kind of pens almost set up that the characters will stand in, and you can take a selfie from afar or to have someone else take a picture of you with them from afar. But they actually don't have that many of the character meet and greets. Though I did get to meet Rapunzel and Tiana, the Disney princesses, and they were both very lovely, very kind, had very beautiful dresses, and I did tell them that I was very jealous of the stitchery in their dresses.
Did you manage to get pictures with any of them?
I did. I have a picture with Tiana and I have a picture with Rapunzel.
Perhaps we could share those to our social medias.
Yes, we could definitely share them to our social medias. I'll share a few pictures so that way people can get an idea of what this place looks like if you haven't been there already, because it's definitely a really cool place to go, just on the whole.
Now, I refuse to believe that you would go to a place like this and not come back with any sweet, sweet merchandise. So what sort of things did you manage to find in the gift shops there?
You know, I was devastated, Luke, because they don't have a Little Mermaid gift shop attached to the ride. Almost every single ride has a gift shop attached to it, because they know you go on the ride, you really love it, you can get some merchandise for it. But they don't have one attached to the Little Mermaid ride, and I was very sad, and I barely found any Disney princess merchandise at all, and I was a little bit sad with that, because I think they have all the Christmas merchandise out right now, and it's the 50th anniversary, so they have all the 50th anniversary that is iridescent in color out right now. Yes, E-A-R, iridescent. And I think that's probably why I didn't find too much Ariel stuff. I did, though, get little mini ears that have little wreaths as the ears on the top, which was fun. And I grabbed a few gifts for people and some ornaments for myself, so that was a fun thing.
Now, the Magic Kingdom, you said, isn't the only place that you got to visit while you were there. As a true Harry Potter fan, you got to go to what some people might call the Promised Land.
Oh, I went on a Mecca. To Diagon Alley and to Hogsmeade and to Hogwarts. And I'll tell you what, Luke, I got to have pretty much the ultimate Harry Potter fan experience, because it just so happened that Sunday was the 20th anniversary of the films, the first film coming out. And what a fun time. So that day I had my friend Paula with me, with her son, who was very cute and showed me all around Diagon Alley and was what a peach. And I actually went, because they do the wand choosing ceremony, and I got in line and I went in and I got really lucky and I got picked to do the whole wand choosing ceremony thing, which was so cool and so surreal and just so amazing to have, because they have like the lights and they have the wind. So you know when Harry picks up his wand and it's like and you get the blast of light and wind, they actually have that choreographed.
Oh.
Yeah. So you get to try out at least 2 different wands, and obviously they don't work like they do in the movie. And then the third one you pick up and you get the blast of light and you get the blast of air, and it's like, and they play the music too from the movie, and it's just, I was shaking the whole time because it was so amazing and I was dying inside. It was so cool. And just on top of that, being able to see Diagon Alley for the first time ever, and Paula being there videotaping me to crying as I walked in, and her adorable son giving me the cutest hug ever right after I was walking in and still crying. And just being able to ride the Hogwarts Express like Harry and see Hogwarts for the first time like Harry.
Now, which of the rides or anything about the experience, other than obviously a wand choosing you, because for a true Harry Potter fan, that is a very significant moment. But is there
Yes.
anything else about the Harry Potter park experience that really stands out?
I think just first off, the immersiveness of it all and the fact that you can walk into Diagon Alley and you're in Diagon Alley. You are there. You can't see anything else outside of it. And you're fully immersed in the Wizarding World. And it's just cool to be able to ride the train all the way over to Hogsmeade and then get off and then walk around the corner and see Hogwarts just waiting for you after you get off the train. And I would say rides-wise, definitely Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, which is way too long of a name. And it was so cool. I actually got to ride the bike 3 times because there's a bike and a sidecar. I got to ride the bike 3 times and the sidecar once. And I actually got to ride the first, like, cart of the truck of motorcycles twice on the bike. So I felt like I was Hagrid going above Hogwarts. Because there's no one else in front of me, too. It's not like I'm looking at a cart that's in front of me. It was me with my hands on the handlebars, just flying around Hogwarts. And it was so cool! Ah!
Now, similar to when you went to the Magic Kingdom and you scored some of that sweet, sweet merchandise from the gift shops, how did the gift shops compare in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter?
I really liked the gift shops there. I thought they were pretty good. I was able to send out some owl post. My friend Jeffrey might be getting some owl posts sometime soon. I don't know, possibly. And I might have bought people a few gifts there, potentially. Who knows?
Well, it is a gift shop, isn't it?
It is. You have a gift shop. You have all your classics. You can go to Borgin and Burke's. You can go to Quality Quidditch Supplies. You can go to Honeydukes. You can go to Dervish and Bangs. You can go to Ollivander's. You can go to all of the classic shops that we see in the books for real, which is really cool. And you can get custom-made robes and custom Quidditch jerseys and things like that. And like I said, I got picked for the wand ceremony, so I got to bring my wand with me. Ooh, boy. Nice little wand.
Oh.
Yeah. A reed wood wand.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's got like really cool like engravings up at the top too.
It really does.
Yeah. It's a nice wand. So I got my wand, which is like a $65 purchase, but it was one of the souvenirs that I had planned on buying anyway. It was just a lucky accident that it happened to be with that wand choosing ceremony. And I also bought myself a really nice, I put it right here. That way I could show you, Jeff. It might cost some, it's going to cost some, hold on. Might cause some like audio issues, but it's a ceramic chocolate frog container.
Oh.
That's very pretty. It's a nice little jewelry box for all your goodies. But
oh, so nothing jumped out of it when you opened it.
No, there was no chocolate frogs in this. But
did you find that disappointing?
Slightly, but I was out for the box. I also bought some ornaments for myself, as I normally do anyway. So we had that. But there was quite a bit of nice merchandise there. I will say, as park merchandise goes, both at Disney and Universal, it's on the pricey side of things. So you got to expect to spend a little bit of money if you're down there and you want to buy stuff.
Now, perhaps the most difficult question of all. Since you were able to do both in one trip, one has to wonder, which would you say was an overall better experience? Disney's Magic Kingdom or the Wizarding World of Harry Potter?
Ooh, see, that's a big choice, because I would say if you want to go do a bunch of rides and have some predetermined experiences, I would say that Magic Kingdom is probably the better choice out of the two. And also, I will give a huge shout out to Rise of the Resistance, the Star Wars ride over in Hollywood Studios, which, yes, I did wait the 2 full hours for, and oh my Lord, it blew my mind out of my head. And totally worth the 2-hour wait. But I would say if you're someone like myself or my co-host Jeff, and you're very invested in the Harry Potter fandom, and you want to go somewhere where you feel like you're among your peers and among other people that are in the same boat as you and who are also fans, and want to experience this kind of cool community in real life, I would say that spending your time specifically in the Harry Potter sections of Universal is the way to go.
So that'll do it for this segment of Jeff and Juliana's Friendship Corner. I was your host, Luke, me in the face. Good night.
Oh, Jeff, you're back.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
It's weird. We were talking about bonus segment, and then suddenly whoosh, and I feel like I took a nap. I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes talking about bonus segments will just do that to you. It's just an effect that it has because, Jeff and Juliana's Friendship Corner is a very powerful force to be reckoned with. So maybe next time, Jeff, I just do the intro by myself and you take a step back, maybe, because I think this was just a little bit too much for you this time.
Yeah, sure. Tell you what, why don't we just do our question of the week? You wanna?
Yeah, Jeff. So what?
Okay.
Now that you're back, there's some kind of weird red rings around your wrists, but I don't know how that happened. Would you like to give us the question of the week?
So for our question of the week, since we've mentioned in our next episode we're going to be just taking a look back and wrapping up our overall discussion of Shadow and Bone, I want to know from the listeners that the first time you finished reading Shadow and Bone, what were you thinking? Like, how did you feel? What did you think of the book? Was there anything that particularly stood out about the book when you finally reached the end? Whatever it is, we want to know. So we're going to make that our first official question for our next discussion is, what were you thinking the first time you finished Shadow and Bone? Send us a DM on Twitter or Instagram and let us know, or send us an email, record a voice memo and send it to us even, and email it to us at intothefoldpod@gmail.com.
If you would like to get in contact with us here at Into the Fold, you can listen to us where all pods are cast, and we are also on YouTube as Into the Fold Podcast.
And you can find us again on Twitter and Instagram at Into the Fold Pod. We have a lot of things that are going to be coming for our next couple of episodes, and a whole lot of just fun nonsense in between. It really depends on what kind of mood we're in and what kind of interactions we have with other people. So just keep an eye on our social medias for a lot of fun stuff coming your way.
Yes. And if you would like to leave us an email with any of those things, you can email us at intothefoldpod@gmail.com.
And if you would like to do something to help us out, like our friends over at Puffcast or our friend Grisha.verse.art, you could leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. And if you leave us something nice, something positive, something that can lift our spirits, then we can share that with our other listeners here on the show.
Yes. And our last request is that if you're enjoying this podcast, maybe share it with a person in person who also might enjoy this podcast, because the best way that podcasts are spread and that we can grow our fabulous audience is by word of mouth. So we thank everyone who has already done that and encourage all of you listeners to go and share this with someone else you know who would love it. And until next time,
we'll see you in the fold.
Ooh, boy, wow. That was
or
jazzy.
Outside the fold.
Or on the side.
Running away from the fold.
Here I am.
God,
okay.
Is that what I sounded like when I did that?
No, I kind of went werewolfy on mine, but that's okay.
Oh.
That was me. That was just me putting my own personal spin on it. You know what I want.
Oh, I know what you want.
Yeah.
What I didn't... Wait, did you say please?
Yeah. I thought I did.
Oh,
I'll say...
I was gonna say I didn't hear please, but you said please, so okay, fine. I'll do it.
I'll say please again. Jeff, will you please do the news intro? Please.
Oh, yeah. I'll do it.
Okay.
Very nice.
Yeah. Ha 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 ha. Hee 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 hee. Ho 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 ho. Oh, okay.
Oh, great. What part of England are you from? My house.
My house. Yeah. Yeah, that's what happens when you stare at vegetables too long. You start to think about them, and then they penetrate your brain, and then they say, Jeff, you are a vegetable. Celery, vegetable.
Okay, so should I do the part where we do the show now? Maybe?
Go for it. Go for it. It's a back. It's a mile. Did they agree with something, Jeff, or are we just ending it there? They agree.
I forgot to finish that summary.
That's okay. Jeff forgot to finish this summary because he was a good doobie, and he knows that I just got back from my vacation, and work was very, very busy the last 2 days because don't have anyone to cover for me.
To be honest, I don't know if I could give it a nice clean cut because you...
Talking too fast. What did you do?
I accidentally kicked on my paper shredder, which is under my desk, so that's what that was.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Shredding papers. Okay.
Welcome to Jeff and Juliana's Friendship Corner. I am your host, Noah. Don't think so.
That's cute. I like that one.
Welcome to Jeff and Juliana's Friendship Corner. I am your host, Oliver. Friends hate me. I'm your host, Miles left to go. Luke, me in the face.
That one's my favorite so far.
Colin, the troops. Dustin, every corner. I am your host, Keith, me on the lip. Arthur, any objections?
Oh, that one's cute. I like that one.